100% to save lives in the immediate aftermath. Now from Pakistan, I would like to invite His Excellency Minister ایاز, Minister for Economic Affairs of the Government of Pakistan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ramesh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I will add to what my colleague, the Minister for Climate Change, has stated here, and what the Under Secretary General of Humanitarian Affairs, as well as Director General of WHO, what they stated. We need to understand that this catastrophe is a warning to the world, and this warning has come with a very huge tab at the expense of Pakistan. Pakistan, as my colleague said earlier, is emitting less than 1% of greenhouse emissions, whereas we are one of the most affected countries of this climate change that is taking place, and we have yet to see that billions of dollars of climate fund that we hear is available somewhere, which is yet to be seen. And but as we speak, we still are at the stage of recovery. We still have not started the process of rehabilitation, and as you all are aware, it started end of June. The month of July it rained, August it rained, September it rained, and water still stands there as we speak, with the crops being unable to be sowed. I will also like to bring to your attention that this is an unusual situation that was created in Pakistan. The conventional floods came with the rivers, but this one came from the sky. In areas where we did not have rainfall for maybe a couple of years, and then all of a sudden we have rainfall which goes on for about 7 or 8 days or 10 days continuously, with roads disconnected, broken, railway tracks uprooted or underwater, helicopters not reaching the needy who need food, medicine, and even shelter sitting on the roadside, with rain pouring on them mercilessly. So this new change, we can see where we were expecting 40% more rain. It was more than 300%, 500%, and some places 1700% more than what the previous 30 years average was. So Pakistan is going to live with this for a very long time. It's not going to go anywhere. The water is still there. By the time the water comes down, then the rehabilitation work will start. And it will not be finished in months. It will take years and years. And we are going to live with it for many years. But as we speak, everyone is concerned. But a time will come in a couple of months, the world will forget what happened in Pakistan, and they will move on. It will be business as usual. And I strongly feel this is a warning. Some other country could be next, God forbid. We would never want to see a single person die, as that would be death of humanity anywhere in the world. Every life is precious, whether it is in Pakistan or anywhere in the world. The loss, the magnitude which is being assessed by the donors, by United Nations along with donor partners, as the day goes by, we see higher numbers, which we are not going to quote as yet, but the numbers are in billions and billions of dollars, which we have to deal with. If we are left alone at this time, then it will set a very bad precedence in the world, that in these kind of things where Pakistan is definitely not responsible for this climate change catastrophe, our friends, the way they stood by us, the donors, the agencies, the NGOs, the civil society, the people of Pakistan and the people of the world is extremely valuable for us, and we thank them for that. But please remember, the more you help us, the easier it will be for us to cope with this disaster and save lives. Not only the lives of human beings, but the life of animals, where we have lost more than 1.1 million animals in this disaster, and more than 1,600 people have died. More can die if food is not there in time. The newborns need nutritious food, which we are trying our best to cope with. But all said and done, the entire world has to wake up for this. The entire world has to step up the efforts for climate change, and the fund that has been created but not fully funded has to be utilized in these kind of catastrophes. I thank all who helped us earlier and all who are going to help us today, as we feel not only Pakistan but each and every person in Pakistan needs the help that we need today. So thank you, and thank you all for attending this session also. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your remarks and also for highlighting the long-term economic impact of this disaster and the imperative of sustained longer-term support if Pakistan is to recover from this. I would now like to invite Mr. Julian Harnes, who you have heard of from many speakers here, who is also the UN Resident Coordinator and UN Coordinator in Pakistan, to provide an overview of the situation of the flood emergency and also the response efforts that he has been coordinating on behalf of the international community. Thank you. Over to you, Julian.
Thank you very much. Minister, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot of emotion about what I've seen and the people of Pakistan, but that's not why I'll be taking this conversation. I'll be covering the more drier aspects of how the appeal has been designed and the logic of our response in order to show to you that it is the right approach, it's a well-thought-through plan, and the $816 million for which we're appealing is the absolute minimum for immediate life-saving humanitarian operations. Pakistan has a great deal of capacity, you've heard it. Venezuelan Income Support Program that's providing $350 million in cash transfers with the support of the World Bank. National Disaster Management Authority, the Provincial Disaster Management Authorities, the military, and then the philanthropy and the people of Pakistan are all doing significant response. So we've analysed that to see what they're doing, and then we've had a certain humility in understanding that our international contribution, thanks to your support through our organisations, is about maybe 20% of the overall response. We aren't doing everything, and we do not have the view that we can do everything. Rather, we are analysing what exists, and we're saying, what are those areas, what are those gaps in the government's capacity? What are the bits that only we as humanitarian organisations have a comparative advantage, and therefore where we need to focus our assistance? Our prioritisation is not based upon our opinion, but it is based upon the expression of what the people believe should be the prioritisation. We did a rapid needs assessment across the provinces of Pakistan, all the provinces, which took weeks, 2 weeks to conduct, and it gives a very clear view as to what the people themselves feel is absolutely essential. Their first priority, health, nutrition, and safe water. And DG Tedros and the other speakers have explained the importance of that. Secondly, food security and shelter. Those are their expressed priorities, and they are reflected in this appeal. We then did a further analysis to see what is our comparative advantage as organisations. Well, we have a field presence through international NGOs, national NGOs, and UN agencies. Our particular strength is supporting the government and society to rapidly build up systems and services, and particularly the health and nutrition and water services, which otherwise would not happen. And then there are areas where the government is less well placed to provide those services, and that's particularly in the area of protection and standing up the response to gender-based violence, which is regrettably a problem in our country and is exacerbated by this displacement of 7.9 million people, complete communities, villages, districts which are on the move and who lose the natural protection of a village and a community and are placed into a chaotic environment in which their protection is at risk. When we have looked at how to provide our services and our assistance, it is under the leadership of the government. The government has a clear structure through the National Floods Relief Coordination Centre, the NFRCC, chaired by the Prime Minister himself, and that brings together the whole of the government, both at federal and national level. So our response and our coordination is embedded into the NFRCC, it's embedded into the NDMA and the PDMAs, so that we are embedded into their leadership at national, federal, national level, provincial level, and then even down to the district level. Finally, our sectors are structured so that they are government-led and that we support those structures to coordinate the assistance across the country. In this document, you will find very little reference to rehabilitation and reconstruction and recovery, and that is designed to be that way because there will be later this year an internationally supported reconstruction conference. And so that gives us down to this last $816 million. We've removed duplication, we've removed reconstruction, we've prioritized based on what the people say is important and what we as professionals know to be the case. This is the absolute minimum to avert the loss of lives in the coming days. We need all of these funds and we need them quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julian, for your remarks. Last but certainly not least, I would like to invite Ms. Inga Ashing, CEO of Save the Children International, to share some remarks and reflections on behalf of the Pakistan Humanitarian Forum. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking the government of Pakistan and the United Nations for the organization of the briefing on the Pakistan flood response. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Pakistan Humanitarian Forum, which represents INGOs working in Pakistan, including Save the Children. As in many crises, national NGOs and international NGOs are at the forefront of the humanitarian response, and I would like to share with you the NGO views on the flood response. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the incredible efforts of the Pakistan government to respond to the devastating climate disaster that has hit their country and the humanitarian crisis that is now unfolding. We also stand in solidarity with the efforts of Pakistani aid workers and the millions of affected adults and children who we all aim to serve. On behalf of INGOs operating in Pakistan, I also wish to thank international donors for their response to the initial appeal of $160 million. As everyone in this room is acutely aware, however, this is an unprecedented disaster with immense and evolving needs, and a significant scale up in response and in funding is required. From what Save the Children is seeing from the ground, Pakistan is now at the grips of a major health emergency. Lack of access to safe water and latrines is triggering the spread of life-threatening illnesses. People are in dire need of shelter. In Sikh province, hundreds of thousands of people are living in filthy conditions in makeshift camps, some with only a plastic sheet to protect themselves from the heavy monsoon rains. In recent need assessment undertaken by Save the Children, the biggest priority for families right now is safe and dignified shelter. We are seeing children dying from diseases, and things will only get worse the longer they go on sleeping outside without shelter, food, and safe water. The floods have caused widespread destruction of livestock and crops, leaving the vast majority of people with no livelihoods and facing high levels of food insecurity. Due to lack of income, access to markets, clean water, and cooking facilities, Families have reported to us that they are skipping meals and may not eat over an entire day. We found that over half of the households we spoke to could be classified as living with severe food insecurity. Our teams are doing everything they can to ensure people have food, shelter, and clean drinking water. But the reality is that there aren't nearly enough funds to meet the level of needs. A mental health crisis is also emerging, with many people, particularly women and girls, reporting to us that they are experiencing psychosocial distress and deteriorating mental health as a result of their situation. And we are deeply concerned about how these multiple stresses will impact on vulnerable groups, and in particular, the risk that they pose to children's safety. Our recent assessment has shown that the key protector risks emerging for children include child labor, forced marriage, family separation, risky migration, and psychological distress. We're also concerned about the impact of the floods on children's education, which has been significantly interrupted due to damaged schools, transportation issues, and lack of access to learning materials. Children's continued access to education is crucial in times of crisis. Being in school helps to protect them. It gives them a sense of meaning. It gives them hope for the future. And while in school, children can also access key services like psychosocial support and sometimes food and safe water. Considering the dire humanitarian situation and the scale of need, on behalf of international NGOs supporting the flood response, I therefore welcome this much-needed revision of the Pakistani flood response plan. The additional funding will enable a step change in the collective response and ensure humanitarian responders and the Pakistan government are better able to overcome immense logistical challenges, have more people in need, and address the secondary crises that are now unfolding, particularly in relation to public health and food insecurity, as we heard some of the other speakers talk about. To maximize the impact of this funding, we urge donors to fully fund the revised appeal as a matter of urgency and ensure that the funds are quickly dispersed to the humanitarian partners. The sooner we can expand our efforts, the more lives and futures we can protect, and the more suffering and trauma we can alleviate. A fast and effective emergency response also helps lay the foundation for an effective recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction, even if we all understand that that comes later. Every effort must be made to support Pakistan to recover from this crisis and fortify itself against future climate shocks. As the CEO of Save the Children, I also wish to take a moment to highlight the plight of Pakistan's children. As is the case in all crises, they will be the most affected and the most vulnerable in face of this disaster and most in need of our help. They are also Pakistan's future, and we must do our utmost to protect them and shield them from the worst effect of this disaster. Around the world, children have contributed the least to climate disasters, but they are the ones who live now and in the decades to come will be most affected. We adults have a responsibility to act with a necessary urgency and scale to ensure that they receive the support they need to survive and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inga, for your remarks and also for highlighting the psychosocial impact of the disaster on children. Before opening the floor for statements from the floor, I would like to invite UN agencies and others who have indicated that they would like to present here some additional remarks. So I would like to hand the floor to the representative of UNICEF. The floor is yours, Manuel.
In the interest of time, and given that so much has been said, I'll be super brief, and so much has been said by Save also on children in particular. One is to reaffirm our commitment and the commitment of UNICEF to stand by the children of Pakistan, of course, and the government in the face of what is the overwhelming consequences of climate change, not the making of their country, but we will argue not the making of their generation as well. Right now, we will focus, as we heard from Julien, and are focusing on child survival, with what we're seeing 500,000 children actually expected to suffer from severe acute malnutrition, and more than 6 million people in need of immediate wash services. So clearly this is our focus right now, but soon we will, with the government of Pakistan, have to focus on education so that 12 million children actually are not paying the price for the destruction of 25,000 schools damaged or destroyed during this moment. Of course, protection is going to be important. So really our commitment is strong, but we are very stretched as humanitarians. We have actually relied a lot on our own core resources so far to respond to this crisis, and on the SURF and a few other funding. But this is definitely a real issue. We're doing that on no regrets basis, but we need the support of everyone. So looking forward to hearing from Donna's on this support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, UNICEF, for your remarks. I would now like to give the floor to the representative of FAO, Dominic. The floor is yours.
Ramesh, and I would like to, of course, thank everybody for the very informative briefing, and especially Her Excellency the Minister of Climate Change for a remark on behalf of the government of Pakistan. As we have heard, the impact of the rains and flood on food security and on the agriculture sector has been simply staggering, affecting about 33 million people, mainly located in rural area. The flood has severely impacted the agriculture sector, including livestock and the livelihood of small-scale farmers, and they have lost literally everything. Dear members, I think a lot has already been said, but what is really important to realize is that in addition to protecting the remaining livestock, which is so critical for the livelihood of population in rural area, what is key to understand is that the main cropping season, the Rabi season, is just around the corner, starting in mid-October in most of the affected area. And allow me to further stress that the Rabi season is the main food crop season for the people of Pakistan, with wheat and edible oils representing more than 50% of the average calorie intake. It is clear that if this season is missed, the impact on food security will be huge. If the season is missed, the impact on Pakistan macroeconomy will also be significant due to substantial increase in terms of the food import bill. In that context, I wish to reaffirm that as FAO, we are fully committed and mobilized to support the government of Bangladesh effort and thank our resource partner for the support they have provided so far, but much more is needed now and then in the recovery phase later on. Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you very much to the representative of FAO for their remarks. And I would now like to open the floor for statements as well as any questions and comments that you may have. The first speaker I have is the representative of the European Union.
Thanks so much, Ramesh, and I would like to thank the representative of the government of Pakistan and of the agencies of the UN here for organizing that meeting and raising awareness about this terrible flooding in Pakistan and its huge impact of the population, of the children, and on the most vulnerable in Pakistan. And it underlines again, as has been said, that the fight against climate change in the long run is a generational challenge for us as diplomats and others, and we really need to tackle this as an ultimate priority. And as you know, the EU is very much at the forefront globally to be a major player in that regard. And let me also obviously convey our condolences for the lives lost in the floods and express the full EU solidarity with the people of Pakistan. And as we speak, the EU Commissioner for Crisis Management, Mr. Lenacich, is in Pakistan, including to visit the most affected regions across Pakistan and to pursue dialogue with the Pakistani authorities. And I am pleased to confirm that earlier today, the Commissioner confirmed to the Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif an additional pledge on the humanitarian side, bringing the overall amount of our EU humanitarian contribution to some 30 million euros, which together with the 93 million euros announced by EU member states amounts to more than 123 million euros as to Team Europe support to Pakistan in that terrible crisis. Our support has included temporary emergency shelter, food, water, cash and primary healthcare services. This comes on top of in-kind assistance through the EU Civil Protection Mechanism upon Pakistan request, and through which in-kind assistance from several member states is coordinated as well as support through the Copernicus satellite service for the production of maps. We reiterate the need for the United Nations system to ensure that the humanitarian early recovery and reconstruction assistance provided is timely, adequate, effective, and coherent. The system also needs to ensure that such assistance is coordinated among all humanitarian and development actors while preserving humanitarian space and ensuring an inclusive approach, including support to Afghan refugees. All of this, of course, has to be made in the utmost coordination with and in support of the government of Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative of the European Union for their remarks and also for the contributions and pledges that you just signaled. I would now like to give the floor to the representative of Switzerland. No, apologies. I'd like to give the floor to the representative of Finland.
Thank you, Excellencies, and thank you very much for all the briefings. This is indeed a wake-up call if we needed one. The impact of climate change is painfully seen in this occasion when heavy rains and floods across Pakistan have forced countless people into displacement. The devastating disaster badly damaged the country's infrastructure and disrupted drinking water and healthcare access. In addition to emergency assistance, reconstruction will take time. We have to step up our fight against climate change and improve resilience and preparedness. Finland is totally committed to this goal, both nationally and internationally. In Finland, the general public has been deeply touched and alarmed by the catastrophe in Pakistan. And this is seen in the mobilization of assistance through the Finnish Red Cross, which has deployed a 4-person emergency response unit to Karachi. And in addition, the Finnish Red Cross has also contributed 105,000 euros to the IFRC emergency appeal from their disaster relief funds. As I said, this is a demonstration of the public concern related to this catastrophe. More importantly, as far as the financial contribution is concerned, Finland has been a long-standing financer of Central Emergency Response Fund. We are in the top 10 financiers of SELF. In 2021, Finland supported SELF with 18.3 million euros and was the fund's 8th largest financer. And this year we have already allocated considerable funds to SELF. I want to thank the Emergency Relief Coordinator for allocating support from SELF, a rapid response on life-saving activities in Pakistan. This is an essential channel for us to address exactly this kind of situations and emergencies. In its funding decisions, SELF pays attention to underfunded priority themes such as disability inclusion, education and protection. These are also essential themes for Finland. I just want to finish by assuring the commitment of the Finnish government to both addressing the acute situation in Pakistan, but more broadly the climate catastrophe that we are facing in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the representative of Finland and also for your contribution to the SURF, which Martin has used to respond to the disaster in Pakistan. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Japan.
Chair Ramesh, and we'd like to express our heartfelt sympathies to the families of those who lost their lives in the floods across Pakistan, as well as to the many people whose livelihood have been seriously affected. We appreciate that update explained by the Pakistan government and the UN agencies and NGOs. Upon the request from Pakistan, the government of Japan immediately provided emergency relief goods such as tents and plastic sheets through Japan International Cooperation Agency. In addition, in response to the flash appeal issued in September, the government of Japan has extended emergency grant aid of $7 million to Pakistan in order to support multiple international organizations' humanitarian activity there. We are also concerned about the health situation in Pakistan as explained by Dr. Tedros of WHO. Japan will be co-sponsor of a draft resolution submitted by Pakistan to UN General Assembly on emergency relief, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and prevention in the wake of the devastating floods. Japan stands with the people of Pakistan and will continue to cooperate for recovery and the development of Pakistan in areas such as disaster prevention, medical care, and health, and water and sanitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the representative of Japan for the remarks and also for the support to Pakistan. I would now like to give the floor to the representative of China.
Thank you very much. The severe floods in Pakistan has caused heavy casualties and property losses. This revised fresh appeal enabled us to have a better understanding of the situation and the seriousness of the effect, and also the urgent need of the Pakistani people. Since Pakistan was hit by the flood, we have always shared our sympathy and solidarity with the Pakistani government and the people, and especially those people and the families affected. The Chinese government has provided 400 million yuan worth of humanitarian assistance to Pakistan. The civil society in China has also organized fundraising among friendship associations, sister cities, and the Chinese enterprises, institutions, and philanthropists, etc. And the broad support was received. A total of 125 million yuan worth of donation and the flood relief supplies has been raised. In addition, the Chinese civilian rescue teams have volunteered to assist in Pakistan wherever there's a need. As long-standing partners, China and Pakistan have been always reaching out to each other and responding to major challenges, including natural disasters, side by side. China will continue to provide urgently needed assistance to support Pakistan's disaster relief work. We believe that with the joint efforts of the Pakistani government and the people, and with the assistance of the international community, Pakistan will overcome the flood and rebuild their homes in an early date. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the representative of China and also for the support provided to Pakistan for the flood response. I would now like to give the floor to the representative of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Amish. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to the United Nations, international organizations, states, and all responders for their support to the Pakistani people in this difficult situation. Also, to commend the leadership shown by the government of Pakistan. We stand once again with solidarity with people of Pakistan and to support flood-affected people throughout the country. We will continue our support in terms of humanitarian, relief, and development projects. Saudi Arabia responded immediately to help the Pakistani people, and we are committed to address the humanitarian needs whenever they are. We encourage the international community to support Pakistan to ensure that we reach all of the Safar people is in need. In this context, I would like to highlight the continuous support provided by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia since the beginning of the crisis, and it continues until now under the royal directive of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, to provide a helping hand to those affected by the floods in Pakistan. Saudi Arabia launched air bridge to support flood victims in Pakistan and to provide relief to flood-affected people in Pakistan. The campaign is to distribute hundreds of thousands of food baskets, shelter tents, basic accommodation kits, projects to support the infrastructure and rehabilitation, safe drinking water, medicines, medical supplies, renovating health facilities, and supporting medical personnel. Excellencies, Kingdom support to Pakistan and its brotherly people is permanent. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the representative of Saudi Arabia and also for the provision of the air bridge of humanitarian support to Pakistan. I would now like to give the floor to the representative of the Netherlands.
Mr. Chair, and good to see this austere panel. I'd like to begin by reiterating our deepest sympathies with the people of Pakistan, many of whom have lost their homes and livelihoods. The consequences of the floods are truly tragic, and it's concerning that humanitarian aid workers, despite their continuous and deepest efforts, have not yet managed to reach many of the affected areas. To make matters even worse, winter already looms on the horizon, and naturally the Netherlands will do its utmost to support relief work. We have thus far provided €3 million of life-saving aid through the Dutch Relief Alliance and the Netherlands Red Cross. These funds go towards food aid, shelter and protection, medical supplies and wash activities. Additionally, 3 Dutch experts have been deployed to Pakistan following the floods, a wash coordinator and a relief delegate through the Netherlands Red Cross, and a water management expert through Dutch Search Relief. This support to the people of Pakistan comes in addition to the Netherlands' unearmarked and flexible funding to UNSERV, the WFP, UNICEF, WHO, CFE, ICRC, and many more, and in addition to our support through the European Union. Having said that, Mr. Chair, the Netherlands remains committed to providing crucial, principled aid to those in need, of whom a disproportionate amount are women and children. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative of Netherlands and also for the support provided. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Turkey.
Thank you, Ramesh. At the outset, I would like to greet Honorable Minister Madam Rahman, Mr. Griffiths, Undersecretary of the UN, and Dr. Tedros, Director General of WHO, and all other panelists. My country and Pakistan enjoy deep-rooted historical, human, and cultural bonds stemming from centuries of brotherhood and kinship. Pakistan holds a unique place in the hearts of Turkish people. When they get hurt, we feel hurt. And we are deeply saddened that the severe flood disasters, which claimed the lives of many Pakistani people and destroyed their livelihood, infrastructure, and created enormous material damage. And of course, we would like to convey our condolences to the friendly and brotherly government and people of Pakistan and wish speedy recovery to the injured. At the flash appeal meeting, we immediately pledged to deliver 50,000 tents and 500,000 packages of food and hygiene materials in total. And so far we have completed the delivery of more than 30,000 tents and almost nearly 500,000 food and hygiene parcels. In addition, we are delivering other humanitarian aid, including non-food materials, and 3 million sets of medical supply, and 30,000 kitchenware sets, clothes, 2 mobile health units, and 50 motor boats, for the rescue attempts. And from the very beginning, we established air bridge and kindness trains. These are proven to be very effective and run in cooperation with the Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Defense. So far, we deployed 15 cargo planes and 13 kindness trains, Qatars, or the sets, and they were able to deliver thousands of tons of much needed material. A total of 34 Turkish personnel, including our disaster agency members, health workers and civil society organizations, as well as expert academics, are currently on the ground and working with the Pakistani officials for both planning and to coordinate the distribution of humanitarian aid and the needs planning. And Turkey will never get relief until our Pakistani friends get relieved and recovered. Therefore, we call upon the international community and the UN agencies to increase their support to Pakistan in these difficult times. And we think that this current appeal, close to $1 billion, I think is much needed. And after all, this is not about altruism, but about justice, as many of the speakers talk about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Representative of Turkey for his remarks and also for support from Turkey to Pakistan. If I could just beg your indulgence, colleagues, the Minister in Pakistan, who is supposed to deliver the closing remarks, has to leave for another meeting. So if I could perhaps ask Her Excellency Ms. Rebani Khan, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Pakistan, to share her closing remarks, and then we will revert again to the floor for statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I thank you and the delegates for this indulgence that has just been given. Let me just say, I think enough has been said about this disaster, disaster of a proportion that perhaps humanity has not experienced in many, many, many decades. So enough has been said about this. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank all the countries, member states, delegates, the UN agencies, and especially the Secretary General Antonio Guterres for the remarkable attention that they have given to this particular event. And allow me to say that it was his coming to Pakistan at the right time which triggered an international attention that it deserved. The words that he used to describe this disaster were indeed the correct words to describe it. And allow me to say that I think all the 33 million people in Pakistan who've been affected by this crisis, and even the 220 million of Pakistanis, are grateful to him and his team for that. I would also like to thank Julian for mentioning specifically that the entire flash appeal number, no matter how much or how high it goes, is not even 20% of the total response to the floods and its victims by the government and people of Pakistan. And perhaps uncelebrated over here go the people of Pakistan who have opened their hearts, pockets, minds, and homes to climate refugees, to people who've been struck by this disaster, which everyone recognizes now through attribution studies is not one of their own making. And allow me to say also that I think this is a moment for all of us, for the world, to tell these people or to respond back to anyone in future who might suffer from a calamity of not their own making, that even though we may not have the right text on the climate crisis response or the architecture for the climate crisis response at the global level, but that as humans we will all come together to respond to the needs of a people who have no who have done nothing to deserve this fate. And I would end just by saying that we continue to talk about the resilience and endurance of these people who are going through this crisis right now. But I think it is our job altogether, people in Pakistan and those abroad, to come together and to make sure that these people are not only equipped to survive this crisis, that they are equipped to be in a position to thrive after they survive this crisis. And I thank you all for your time and your attention and your indulgence.
Thank you, Minister, for those very important closing remarks. And I would now like to revert back to the floor and ask the representative of the United Kingdom to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Minister, for being here with us in person, and for your colleagues joining us from Islamabad. What we've heard and seen today in that video is, once again, chilling, it's shocking, and I think it's moved every one of us here. And it's those same scenes that moved the British, as you know. We have such close links with people of Pakistan. British people have raised £20 million through the Disasters Emergency Committee appeal. British Airways is providing free cargo to NGOs, sending material to Pakistan, and the King himself has donated to the Islamic Relief appeal for Pakistan. And of course, the British government has provided £16.5 million pledge support to this flood appeal, and we'll obviously look at this latest revised appeal that you have made today. Thank you for setting out the needs so well, and it's great to see such a kind of coordinated and coherent approach here today from the government of Pakistan and from the UN agencies who are so active on the ground. And I suppose it goes without saying, but in a case like this of such scale and such urgency, that coordination, not just here today, but on the ground in Pakistan, is so important. Getting the structures and processes right for coordination between the government of Pakistan, United Nations, and the donor community, really important, and we really look forward to working on that with you through our High Commission in Islamabad and our teams on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the representative of the United Kingdom for his remarks, and also for the support from the UK. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mr. Chair, I will make a long statement short. First of all, acknowledging the presence in the panel of the whole UN system mobilized in favor of Pakistan, of course, the distinguished representatives of the government of Pakistan, to whom we extend our support, our commitment, and of course the expression of our admiration for the way the Pakistani people is reacting to this extremely tragic crisis. And Mr. Chair, we have of course deployed emergency aid to Pakistan. I will not enter into the details of it for the sake of rapidity. President Macron has also met the Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan on the margins of the UN General Assembly a few days ago, and has committed to work with the government of Pakistan, in particular in the setting of the international conference that was briefly referred to, in order to try to draw the lines of reconstruction, taking into account that, as you said, Honourable Minister, this crisis demonstrates the need to rebuild countries in general, and Pakistan in particular, to be resistant to climate change effects and to be redrawn in order to be adapted to what is going to be in the future. And therefore, I will end this statement, the integrity of which will be circulated, by reiterating our solidarity to the Pakistani people, our comment of the mobilization of the UN system, and our commitment to continue to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the representative of France for your comments and all your remarks, and also for the support that France has provided to Pakistan. I would now like to hand the floor to the Representative of the United States.
Good morning. Just first to extend as well our profound condolences to the people of Pakistan. The video and the comments this morning might perhaps just be postcards from the edge, but they're nonetheless compelling and a very clear call for all of us to act, not just in response to the new appeal that's been shared this morning, but indeed with a significantly increased amount of urgency to the overall climate crisis. We're proud for the $56.5 million that the United States has been able to mobilize thus far, but we recognize that our contribution and the contributions of others in this room today and our other international partners are just a small part of the overall response. Not only that it is required, but indeed is already ongoing. And in that regard, we just really want to commend the government of Pakistan for the absolutely vital leadership role that you have been playing throughout and continue to play, mobilizing resources and capacities towards really joined up whole of government response. We echo the sentiment of the resident coordinator and others and want to acknowledge the important contribution of civil society and philanthropies working on the ground in Pakistan, who've been doing amazing work, taking advantage of their long-standing investments in many of the communities that have been hit hardest by this, to really mobilize resources and capacities quickly and reach those most in need. But I think most importantly, to the minister's point, it's important that we also take a moment to celebrate the Pakistani people themselves, who from day one have been showing tremendous generosity, working on the front lines of this, stepping up to share food, shelter, clothing, and help others in need. And it's our duty from our perspective that we too do our part in all of this. We're hopeful that today's launch event will shed a further spotlight on the crisis and help ourselves and others mobilize the additional assistance that's needed. We encourage other donors here to urgently considering their deepening their relief efforts in Pakistan as we consider what else we might be able to do. We're clear-eyed that there is a long road ahead, including to reconstruction, but we also have to make sure that we get this response right to get that to work. I did just want to pose one question to the resident coordinator. Greatly appreciate the focus that you placed on protection in your interventions, but any comments that you could offer just in terms of how the humanitarian country team is working together, but in partnership with your national and local partners to also ensure that prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse are part of this response from day one. Indeed, the vulnerability is of deep concern to us, and it's something that we're deeply committed to working in partnership with all of you to address. And then I think finally, just a few broader comments. I took note in particular of the DG's comments about the importance of looking past the important work of individual agencies and really making sure that the needs of those affected are front and center of what we're doing. And struck as well by the resident coordinator's comments on the truly heroic work to really try to zoom in on what the United Nations and your partners are best positioned to deliver in this context. It sounds technical and bureaucratic, but when we're staring down the $50 billion plus in estimated humanitarian needs globally, it really is make it or break it in terms of our ability to not only respond effectively to the crisis in front of us in Pakistan, but in many other contexts around the world. So thank you, and just wanted to reaffirm our continued commitment to working in partnership with all of you on the path ahead. Thanks.
Thank you very much to the representative of the US for your remarks, and also for the very generous contributions and pledges made to Pakistan for support. Your question is noted, and we will come back to it through Julian. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Germany.
And I'll try to be brief. First, I'd like to thank the panel and the Pakistani government for the very interesting and worrisome briefing this morning on the devastating effects of the floods in Pakistan. I'd like to extend the condolences of the German government and the German people
Pakistani people, of course. When it comes to figures, I would like to align with the statement made on behalf of the European Union, which of course, as you know, Germany is a proud member and a strong supporter. But we've also reacted nationally, although Pakistan is not a classical recipient country for German humanitarian aid so far. We've reacted to the initial appeal with 25 million euros of fresh money coming on top of 25 millions, which we've already provided in bilateral cooperation aid, 25 million fresh money in emergency relief, which we have channeled through the international organizations, the WFP, WHO, UNICEF, SURF, of which we are of course a big contributor, and the German Red Cross, which for example has provided in-kind food and hygiene sets for 60,000 people in Pakistan. And we take note and with interest of the revised appeal of today, and will of course provide all the information necessary to Berlin, and rest assured that we will remain solidarity with Pakistani people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for to the representative of Germany for your remarks, and also for the generous contribution that Germany has made to the UN agencies as well as to the SURF in response to the disaster in Pakistan. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Norway.
First of all, I would like to thank the panel today, the distinguished panel who has informed us and given us an update about the situation in Pakistan. I believe that the first briefing that was held earlier this fall managed to draw the attention of many countries to the situation, and also started a discussion on what this was all about. And the message that you have about climate change is very well received, and we would like to continue that discussion. We would also like to use this opportunity to convey our deepest condolences to the people of Pakistan, also with the people that have been lost, but also the sympathies with the people that are now living in very dire situations. I had two questions, comments that I would like to focus on, and the first one would be with regards to protection. We know that natural disasters put women and girls in particularly difficult situation. It has been mentioned already, and is also mentioned in the response plan, but I would like to ask you if you could say a couple of more words about how you plan to make sure that this is focused on in the continued relief work. We do see that sexual and gender-based violence again and again comes out as the least prioritized in a situation like this, and we also know that this has been seen in the aftermath of other disasters. The other question have also been brought attention to by others, and that is with regards to coordination, and again an update on how you plan in a sort of situation so devastating as what is now experienced. How can we make sure that the NGOs and INGOs are working good and well coordinated together with the government of Pakistan in this situation? As others, Norway have provided funds already to Pakistan and also to our partners. We would like to continue to look carefully at the response plans and how we can, what more we can do to help, but we also think that what has been done through the SURF and through our partners, where we are very focused on flexible and non-earmarked funding, we think that's a good start. But in solidarity with the people of Pakistan, we will continue to be active in relation to how to answer to this particular situation. So thank you so much.
Thank you to the representative of Norway for your remarks, and also for the contributions to the response in Pakistan, and your questions are noted as well. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Poland.
Honorable Excellencies, I would like to thank for this very timely and informative briefing, giving us the honest but at the same time very sad image from the situation on the ground. Poland expresses its highest concern about the dramatic situation in Pakistan caused by extensive flood. We are exceptionally worried about the people in the vulnerable situation, older persons, women, including dogs being pregnant, and children. The scale of this disaster creates also a massive internal displacement movement, which for Pakistan being one of the major refugee hosting states creates an enormous challenge. Poland, being currently a hosting country for approximately 2 million of refugees, would like to align with Pakistan in these difficult times by making a contribution for the UNHCR activities in response to the flood. At the outset, and let me again express our solidarity and appreciation for the diverse efforts of the government of Pakistan and the international community, including United Nations Organization, in response to this devastating crisis. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative of Poland and for your pledge to support Pakistan. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Greece.
Thank you, Chair. Greece expresses once more its sorrow over the devastating floods and the lost supplies. And Greece responded to Pakistan's urgent humanitarian needs following the devastating floods that recently hit the country. In this regard, our country sent humanitarian aid consisting of medical supplies, tents, surgical gloves and sleeping bags to Karachi on Monday, September 19th, with the transport aircraft of the Hellenic Armed Forces. The aid was provided in cooperation with the Ministry for Climate Crisis and Civil Protection of the Hellenic National Defense General Staff and the Hellenic Red Cross. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much to the representative of Greece and also for the in-kind contributions to the disaster response. I would now like to hand the floor to the representative of Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for convening these meetings and updating us on the latest development on the ground. And at the outset, I would like to commend the Pakistan government for the very coherent and coordinated response to this crisis, and also applaud the Pakistani nations as the first peoples that responded and expressed the solidarity with the people of the Pakistan. The heavy rains and floods that have led to an unprecedented disaster in Pakistan since June 2022 and causing casualties and destroying public and private infrastructure across the country. We, as Iran, as a neighboring country, we express our solidarity with the Pakistan people and government, and from the highest level, the officials, has been in close contact with the Pakistani officials, and also the humanitarian and relief organization in Iran has already provided and dispatched supplies to Pakistan. We express our readiness to continue our support to Pakistan in this respect, and we call upon the international community to continue its support to Pakistan. I thank you.
Thank you very much to the representative of Iran for your remarks and also for the support to Pakistan. I would now like to hand the floor finally to the representative of the International Organization for Migration.
Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Through this forum, IOM would like to reaffirm our commitment to continue working together with the government of Pakistan and the humanitarian actors to provide immediate assistance to populations affected by flood. One of the main focus of IOM at this moment is provision of shelter and settlement, as well as non-food items. Despite all the efforts made to provide shelter and non-food items, gaps still remain, and IOM would like to continue to advocate the necessity to ensure adequate and safe shelters and settlement that can safeguard health, privacy, and dignity of the affected population. As mentioned earlier, shelter is one of the priority needs at this moment, and shelter and settlement is very well linked to health. Adequate shelter and settlement is very well needed to minimize health risks, as poor shelter and settlement can directly contribute to health issues, including acute respiratory infection, dengue, and malaria. IOM would like to thank our donor partners for the support that have been provided to allow us to provide assistance to the populations of Pakistan. But more will still be needed to ensure that needs are covered. Thank you.
Thank you to the representative of IOM for your remarks and also for the response to the disaster in Pakistan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, we've come now to the end of the meeting, and I would like to thank very much Minister Rahman for taking the time to come here to present your remarks at this very important launch, and also to Minister Sadiq in Pakistan, as well as State Minister Rubani for your remarks and also for your support, and also to Julian and Dr. Tedros for joining us at this meeting. Thank you all for your support to Pakistan. Apologies. Yes, sorry, again, sorry, I forgot to get back to Julian on some responses to the questions.
Yeah, sorry about that. So on just I'll put it all together: coordination, PSCA protection, and also accountability to affected populations. So we have a plethora of different actors, a multitude of different actors that are responding to this. Some of whom we work with a lot, government, but others, foundations, social organizations, much less so. All of those different organizations have decision-making points at very different places. Some of it's in Islamabad, some of it's in Karachi, others in Hyderabad, Lakhana, etc., etc. The only place where all those organizations come together in the same place at the same time is at district level. Therefore, when we think about our coordination, it's important that it's bottom-heavy. Coordination at Islamabad will not be successful, and this is also a learning from the 2010 floods. So our coordination strategy, including things like protection and PSCA, is to reinforce as much as possible local level coordination. Now, local level coordination means, at best, Urdu speaking coordination, and actually often Sindhi. Sindhi, or in some parts of Sindhi. So we're looking at coordination structures where people speak the local languages. That means that on the UN side, we're reactivating colleagues who previously worked for us in years gone past and bringing them back on, for example, OCHA, or we're calling out Pakistani colleagues from around the world. Actually, OCHA colleagues come back from Yemen, UNICEF Pakistani colleagues come from the Caribbean. So we're bringing them so that when we go in and reinforce our local coordination, we're speaking the language that our partners are speaking. Now, what does that mean in terms of reinforcing things like PSCA, gender-based violence protection, is that we need those specialists at a close to local level. So in all of those areas, we are placing our protection specialists, GBV specialists, PSCA specialists, and they're deploying right now at either Sabka, Hyderabad, or Karachi, so that they are close to the areas of operation and can support local coordination. Final point, accountability to affected populations. We are piggybacking off the provincial assemblies. And so our accountability to affected population is through the overall umbrella structure, is through special committees that have been established in the provincial assemblies that bring together the representatives of the affected districts so that they can hold us accountable, because they are elected to represent the people, so that they can hold us accountable for our actions on behalf of the people in the districts. And they also ensure that accountability to affected populations will be happening at a district level and, where necessary, to Taluka and Union Council. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Julian. Also, thanks and apologies again for missing you at the end. Thank you again, colleagues, excellencies, and all colleagues also in Pakistan for the enormous response that you've provided to this extraordinary disaster that's impacted the lives of millions. Your continued support, excellencies, and your generosity will be so hugely valued by those very families whose lives have been entirely uprooted, many of whom you saw on the video just now, and it's been described also by Senator Rehman. Thanks again for coming. I apologize for the delay in this meeting, and look forward to your contributions to the appeal in Pakistan. The appeal is available again, as I mentioned, outside on the table as you depart. Thank you again.